What's up, guys? I'm Baylee Littrell from the Backstreet Boys.
This is Baylee Littrell, and you were listening to The Whole Podcast.
The whole podcast. I mean the whole thing. Stay tuned.
Welcome to The Whole. I am Rob Sprans.
I'm Lori Levine.
And we are joined by the Littrells, Brian and Baylee. Welcome, guys. How are you?
What's up?
What's up, guys? What's up?
Right now, they are so hot that they literally set my car alarm off minutes before I had to start this. So. But I want to thank you guys so much for joining us. It's an honor and a pleasure to have both of you here. I want to start with Baylee because you have such a great story on how you've released an album and working on a second one. Your record here, 770 Country. I checked it out, and I got to say, you are wise beyond your years, and not only in your voice, but it's just a really good record, man. Congratulations! You should be very proud.
Hey, thank you so much, dude. Thank you so much. That was probably one of the greatest experiences of my life, working on a first record. So now, working on a second one, I'm just hoping I can do it justice.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Like, so what are the pressures you find on a second record to make it? Because, when you do your first record, you have every song that you've probably ever written since you were first started picking up a guitar, and you have a whole collection of stuff, and you can pick the best and go from that. But then once that's out, now you have a clean slate. So do you approach it any differently? Do you want to just continue and let it evolve? Do you have like a sound that you want to go for? Like, what's your mindset going into the new one?
This record that I'm working on now is going to have a lot more Baylee Littrell original songs on it. So I think the pressure is a little bit higher, but also the excitement level is up here because this is the first time since I've really been in music and been cutting music that I have some 100% original songs, and then I'm finding my sound. Because a lot of my first record were songs by Tree Vibes, a publishing company out of Nashville, Florida Georgia Line's publishing company. So, and amazing writers from Tyler Hubbard and Daniel Ross and Stephen Lee Olson and Corey Crowder. Those guys are amazing. But this is the first record I'm really exploring and putting a bunch of originals out, that I've written pretty recently. And I'm getting courageous with them. I mean, some of them are different, but I think I'm really finding my sound, like heavy electric guitars and some crazy riffs and, some cool stuff in there that people aren't used to. So the sound is changing. I'm excited for people to hear it.
Yeah, plus you experience more in your life, and there's more to write about, and and those experiences are also influences that you listen to, and
of course.
And I'm not, I know Brian's with us too. I think he was in a little band too, a little group.
May have heard of it.
Yeah, a little group called the Backstreet. Little group called the Backstreet Boys. Let's go through this for a second. You've had 9 top 10s, but I want to count everybody because it was number 11, and if I would have bought a second one, it would have counted. So let's just say 10 top 10. So
okay, that's cool.
So Baylee, you're growing up at, in a musical house. Like your mom even sings, and she has a really good voice too. So like growing up in a musical home, it's almost like you almost had no choice, but it's almost natural to you.
It very much is. We just talked about this the other day, just saying how our lifestyles are kind of so different. Like, growing up, my first like big boy bed was a bunk on a tour bus. So like I didn't know any other way of life. And so when it came time for me to really decide what to do, I was a freshman in high school, and I came to mom and dad and I was like, guys, I want to start music. So for a year, I was working on my voice, trying to get through puberty because 8th grade was horrible, right?
I'm still trying. I'm still trying.
That baby voice, and so mom's like, just work on it for a year. I'm like, what are you talking about? It sounds great. But I worked on my voice for a year, and 2018 comes around, and I get in and I start myself, and I just, when I got into music, I thought there's nothing else that I want to do. And it was, we went to Nashville, cut some songs, just some demos, just to see and to try it out and see if that was something I'd want to do, because my parents are amazing and supportive. So they brought me up there to try that out, and it ended up being permanent. And there's pressure, obviously, trying to be a second generation going into the business. But I mean, could you ask for a better teacher?
Yeah, I mean, that's so true. And, we watched some clips beforehand, and this was one here.
I was sending Rob clips all day today.
Yeah. So this one here, this is just a still. I won't play the video because we've been through it. But this, to me, like, there's something so very sweet about this. You guys were on stage together singing I Want It That Way. And, Brian, you can see a mix of pride and almost protection in your face at the same time doing it. Because, as someone, you have gone through the monster that is this industry. And, at a young age, you were 21, I think, when the first album hit for Backstreet Boys, right?
Actually, I was, 18, 19. I was 20, actually, when the first European album came out, which was a year before all the U.S. releases. So, yeah, I was 20 years old. But what you're also seeing something that you left out in that, you're also seeing adoration from a dad that has kind of mutual, like a mutual respect for his son that's up there performing live. And that's tough to do. It's really, really hard to put yourself out there emotionally and physically. And so that's really what you see in my face. I'm just like, it's adoration, it's respect, but it's also that nurturing, I guess the father's love of, just seeing his boy, do what he loves. And that's really what it's about. It's not really about following in dad's footsteps. It's just really about doing what he loves and what he's passionate about.
Right, and that, and that brings up the point. Then the challenge for you, Baylee, is a little higher, like you mentioned. But at the same time, you right away want to be yourself. You don't want to be associated all the time, and nor should you, because it's a good record. You have a good voice, and there's good songs on there, and you have potential to really blow up in the same way, but just on your own terms and do your own thing. So when you said that this record is going to have some electrics and all this other stuff, it just shows that you are now getting to that point. It's almost like you need to walk a little bit before you can run.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, Brian, I'm sure there are times where you hear make suggestions and you're like, but you don't want to say anything. But I'm sure there's a little of both in there. You have to. It's got to be a little tricky for you to walk that line between letting him just do what he wants, and sometimes, as you know, and as we all know, you have to make mistakes to get better as well in everything that you do.
Totally. That couldn't be more right and more correct. It's kind of like a news flash, like parents, guess what? Your kids don't always listen to everything that you say, so it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter if they're in the same profession as their kids, or their kids, want to do the same thing that their parents do. It's one of those things. And, I look at it more as a nurturing thing, to have the music business, the business behind the music that Baylee makes is really what is important on how he handles himself, how he presents himself, how he's can be educated when he talks about things, about songwriting, about counting 2s and 4s and 16s and just understanding music. And he has it. He really does have it as a natural gift. So that to me is the fun part. I'll put my 2 cents in on maybe we should add a harmony there, or maybe extend this verse, or maybe shorten this verse. And he's very receptive with that. But sometimes he's like, Dad, this is the way I hear it, and this is the way I want it. And it's his career.
We have looks. We have these things where Dad will suggest something. We were in the studio a month ago working on the first 2 songs on this next upcoming album. And it was full live band. So we had a live band come in there. We recorded the songs in like 7 hours, both of them, just done. And I was sitting there. We're in this old school spot. It's Soundstage in Nashville. It was Ronnie Millsap's old studio. So nice. It was gorgeous. I'm sitting behind this glass, the glass wall, And I'm looking at the band playing, and Dad's, suggesting things to me. And he's like, well, we'll do this. And I'm like, yeah, we can do that. And okay, let's do this. I'm like, uh-huh. And then he goes, oh, let's try this. And I'm like, and he's like, no,
Get out.
Okay. And then Danny was looking at you. He's like, I don't think he likes that.
That's so funny. But so Brian, you've grown up in front of the world, and that's not an easy thing to do. Every great thing and every mistake and everything is amplified 100 times over, because especially, I mean, let's just be real here. That wasn't just a group, like it was a phenomenon. And
it still is. I've seen women with tattoos.
I have one now too. Hold on, let me just show you my butt.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, Lori, don't show yours right now. Not right now.
Tell me when I should show it. It's just on my lower back.
Yeah. But like it's. Do you get some concerns like that? And because it's when you guys are under the roof in your home, everything that happens is private, and you can only protect so much. He's 18 now. Sooner or later, Baylee's going to be on his own no matter what. So, do you have concerns about or advice as to what he can be careful of as far as being in the public eye? I mean, he seems like just such a cool, chill guy in general, so it doesn't seem like much. Yeah. Unless as soon as I hit stop, he's like, I'm not taking out the garbage, Dad. I got an album.
Dad, I'm opening for the Backstreet Boys. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, he's like, I don't have time. I don't have time to take the trash out, Dad. I mean, come on. Like, no, he actually does help me with taking out the trash, which I'm very appreciative of that. And when dear old Dad is out of town working, he does have to jump into some of my roles around the house, which I think is good, for him to learn. I mean, he's a stand-up human being. I will tell you that. I admire the person that he is. He's learned a lot from his beautiful mom. And, me as a team member, we do, every parent wants the best for their child. But I will tell you, in today's world with social media, let's back up, 25 years ago 28 years ago when the Backstreet Boys started, we didn't even have digital cameras. We had cassette tapes. I've got some on my wall back here in the studio, like, actual cassettes and vinyls that came out, when we were starting music. And today with social media, everything is just instant. And so if there's one thing that I would just want Baylee to be secure with, is that the person that he is, like, out in public, you're always watched. And I think always having eyes on you it's an important thing to just keep in the back of your mind, that you want to make smart decisions. You don't want to ever get hot-headed or too much. There's a point of being professional and needing to have what you need to have, and being, I guess, somewhat of an authority in kind of demanding those things, because you are the artist, you are the ticket. But there's a respectful way to handle yourself and do that as a human being. And I think Baylee's really, really working diligently on that and growing into a great person, really good person.
That's awesome. Now, Lori mentioned you guys going on tour together. Now, Baylee, you got to open for Backstreet Boys in arenas in North America. That I can't imagine what that must feel like. Yeah, Brian, you've done it already. We'll talk about it later. But Baylee, I can't. Were you nervous for that first? I mean, that first time. So, like,
yes.
how do?
I mean, that experience, 42 shows, well, 41, because you guys did a festival in Ottawa, and I was not on that one. 41 shows on tour was one of the most surreal experiences of my entire life. I'll never forget Capital One Arena, kicking it off. I just remember it seemed like the whole day flew by so fast. And by the time me and my band figured out where our dressing room was, it was time to go on stage. And I just remember us all walking to stage and we got ready. We got our in-ears in, the music starts playing, we're going out. And I just remember literally you either can self-implode or you can use that and do something, great. And so I'm thinking, what do I do here? And there's what do we do? What do we do? What do we do?
Well, I guess there's no bucket to throw up in, so I might as well go excel.
And so we're walking to stage, and the security staff at the venue was, literally guarding like almost every door. It was high alert because they were, going back on an arena tour for the first time. And this woman that was on the security staff looks at me and she goes, "Hey, you got this. You're going to be just fine." And I just remember, nice. I'm like, all it takes is one stranger to tell you you're going to be just fine. And I was like, you know what? If she thinks I'm going to be just fine, that's right. I got this. And that entire tour, like just like that, it was over. Like from Capital One Arena to Hershey, Pennsylvania, when it was over, it went by in the blink of an eye. And every show was such a learning experience. And I don't know where I would be as a performer today if I didn't have that, if I didn't have the opportunity to go out there and open up for the boys, which was the best. You never know if that opportunity is going to come again because we don't know what our destiny is. So every single show, I was a kid in a candy store just taking it in. It was amazing.
Yeah, someone that comes from... Go ahead,
sorry. No, I was just going to add, to you guys, to Rob and Lori, like the cool thing about watching him that first night versus like show 1 to show 5 to show 8 to show 15 to show 25, like he just kept getting better and better and better. And he was more comfortable, like he says, like in all honesty, you have to, every artist in the world on the planet would want to perform in an arena. That's like the end all be all other than a stadium tour someday. But for Baylee to do that and to take that on, it's not easy. And he got out there and he worked so hard, and he was just a different monster come that 41st show at the very, very end. And like he said, it happens so fast. You get in this groove and it's just show after show after show. And then you look up and it's over and you're like, man, I want to go back to the beginning because it's just something that you don't want to ever forget,
Yeah, and that brings me back to you, Brian, because you guys were on tour when COVID hit, and you had to first reschedule and then cancel and put it off. It never gets old, does it? No matter how many times, no matter how many years you do it, it never does get old, does it?
No, there was. I can honestly say that there was a time. There was a time in like 2000 or 2001 where we had been at it for, like 9 solid years. It was just album tour, album tour, album tour. And at one point in my life, when I was a new dad in 2002, when Baylee was born, there was a time that I thought, I don't know if I want to keep doing this because the schedule was just super tough, and I wanted to try to raise a family and start a new life for myself. But I think when Baylee came along to Leanne and I, it was a newfound respect for my work, and I'll fast forward to COVID, Backstreet Boys were in South America, and we were about to be stuck, out of the country. The president was about to shut the country down, and we were watching the news, and we didn't want to get stuck out of the country. We wanted to come home. So, fast forward, we get home in February, and then we didn't see each other other than Zoom calls or whatever it was, podcast. We didn't see each other for 14 months. 14 months. And it's like that sense of value of our work and our tour and the fan base and just the stuff that goes along with that inspiration of your life of getting out there and being in front of people. We missed it, and so there was a new sense of respect, a new sense of value, even for one another. Like, hey, I can't wait to get back out on tour. And it's just, it's unfortunate. It's sad for the fans' sake. It's sad for the world of everybody of who all was affected, by a pandemic. I mean, the world went through a major pandemic, and I think it put a lot of things in perspective for everybody on the planet. Every mom and dad, every child, every business owner, every server in a restaurant. I mean, it just put things, like, it just stopped, and it put things in perspective. And I think Baylee's learned a lot over this period of time. Like, he's written like 100 songs. If I go back to Baylee, he's written like 100 songs in the past year and a half. And I'm like, how do you do that? Like, how does your brain process
Probably from on that chalkboard right there.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
By the time high school was over, it was just a completely different ball field. I mean,
Yeah. So
Wait, one thing I love, I was researching Baylee so much the last week, and I love I think it's a video for 770. And then you said that mom directed it. Those are all your friends. That's your truck. Like, I love all that. It's a great video. You would think that it was like this huge budget video, and it's all like home done, and it looks great.
we got it done in one day.
wow,
One
really?
day, yeah.
That's awesome.
I literally text my friends and said, hey, I need extras for a video. Do you guys want to show up?
They're like,
Sure. And my friends weren't even phased. They're so used to this because they've grown up, with me. So they're all like, let me check my schedule. See if
Yeah, right. Let's see if I
I'm
can.
like, can you not help a friend out? They're like, yeah, we'll make it.
you're like, let's wash the truck quick.
Well, Brian, you brought up a good point in the sense of family. I've seen that for years from your family. The just how you guys stick together for everything. Even this, you guys support each other so much. Now, and Baylee is a solo artist. So you, as part of a group, versus a solo artist, there's some different nuances there. That's a nice pose. I'm going to try to do one before we're done. But there are some nuances there in the differences. So in your case, Brian, when you have other people, it's no secret. You guys sometimes fight. You guys sometimes get along great. You call each other out when you need to. Sometimes it needs to happen. Sometimes it's too much. In the case of Baylee, he's going to be pretty much doing this as himself. What do you think the differences and the benefits are for both in each one?
There's a lot of differences when you think about it, because in a group you have, you've got 5 different dynamics. You have 5 different thinking. I was going to say floating heads, thinking heads.
They're posing heads. Posing heads.
Yeah. No, it's like in a group, everybody keeps everybody accountable, and that's not always easy. That's a tough thing to do, but I think as a solo artist, Baylee's he's also a good listener. I would say that about him. He's a very good listener when it comes to the people around him. He also listens as he doesn't just listen in a selfish way. He listens in an objective way, I think. And that's what he's learning about, the songwriters and the song producers that he's working with out of Nashville or out of LA or out of New York or out of Atlanta. It doesn't matter where he's at. He's become a good sponge with just listening in an objective way. Like he listens to me with notes on music, or like he listens to mom on camera direction, or even notes on music, because mom is musically inclined as well. So it's a good thing. Now, yeah, it is a different dynamic. As a solo artist, you can say, hey, this is my thing. Nobody else gets to touch it, and I want to fix it the way I want to. And like you said, Rob, you have to live and learn, and you can stick your neck out there and make a lot of mistakes, and then you have to learn from those. But I think he's a good listener when it comes to that. And I would encourage him just as a plus. I think it's a plus to be a solo artist coming from a group member.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's less cooks in the kitchen when it comes to cooking up an idea. So that's just, a father giving some advice to a son.
Yeah. So now, Baylee, when you went on this tour, I know you mentioned that even younger, you'd go on tour, you'd have a nice big grown-up bed on the bus. But when you actually wound up touring as an opening act, what surprised you about touring that you didn't expect? What was it that you just, because obviously, you know, all of us in one way or another have always dreamed to be able to do what you guys have done, and to know what that is like. There are very few people who know what that feels like. What about touring did you get surprised by, or you were like, wow, this isn't as cool as I thought, or, you know, this is way better than I thought?
I'm gonna have to say it was way better than I thought. I got to experience it in a different way. When I was little, I was nosy, you know, going on tour with Dad. I had to see what was going on. You know, I was walking in their dressing room, interrupting important things. You know, I knew who the opener was too. God forbid, I had to find out. Right. And so, like, you know, my whole life. Well, let me just insert one last thing too. The security team, our security staff, gave me a little microphone, walkie-talkie, to have, so that I would feel like I was a part of the security staff. So I'd bring it everywhere. They didn't have it hooked to theirs, but I felt important. But seeing it from, you know, being a family member on the road to then really being the opener, it was kind of what I always had dreamed of, because I had seen it, you know, just experiencing it, seeing the openers and seeing them go on and having that opportunity. And then to take the reins myself and be the opener was honestly the greatest honor of my life so far, because, you know, these four uncles of mine gave me a chance to go up there and do it. And it was different. It was crazy to see people I've been, you know, touring with my whole life talking to me about business instead of like, hey, you want to go grab food tomorrow? Like, it's more like, okay, you've got to, you know, you're going on from this time to this time. And after this, you've got press. And I'm like, you know, it's like your family like telling you this stuff. So it's like all of a sudden, like, you have the business switch too. So that was the only thing that like takes you by surprise.
Well, what about the schedule? What about the schedule, Bubba? Because a lot of people don't see that.
I keep forgetting about that. Yeah. Well, the schedule is one thing that's very different, because, you know, me trying to grow as an artist, you get up and you do morning shows at 6 a.m. And, you know, the bus rolls out at 2 a.m. after, you know, your set before, you know, like when I would open up, and then the guys would go on.
He's already in the future
to sign autographs. So when we switched halfway through the tour, but it was, I bet none of you knew that. It was, my schedule got crazy there. But it didn't seem like work because it was so much fun. But, you know, you get up and, you know, mom and dad are cooking breakfast on the bus after dad's gone to rehearsals and sound check. And then, you know, he's got a show. Whereas I was getting up, you know, going to do press, and then getting back at, you know, 10 or 11 in the morning, taking a nap, you know, because you get 3 hours of sleep the night before. Then you might all go get a meal together. And then, you know, I do meet and greet, sound check, go on myself. And it was like, we would see each other walking through the halls and then they'll be like, hey, what's up, Dad? You know, how'd you sleep? Hey, what's up? You know, like, I think that was the only different thing. But then again, it was still the same in a lot of ways. It was a lot of hard work. But hard work can be so much fun if you love what you're doing.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Good answer, Bubba.
Yeah. So now, as far as the Backstreet Boys go, are you planning on going back on tour? Or are you taking some time now?
Yeah, because I've been on the website and it says 2022.
Yeah, I think
what they're not telling you is that I'm going to be the sixth member.
Well, you know what? Before this is done, I'm gonna challenge you on that, because before this is done, I'm gonna audition, because I want the sixth member, because I think I've got what it takes. If you want a 50-year-old man up there jumping around, you've got it, Brian.
Hey, Kevin's going to be 50 in October. I mean, we're going to have a 50-year-old Backstreet Boy. I mean, how funny is that?
It's crazy. But you know what? Like it's you know, I watched some live clips of the last tour before it stopped. You guys sound great, and sound great, and you still have all the dancing and everything. But that actually is a good question, Brian. As if you're a guitarist, and you're a guitarist at 20, and you're a guitarist at 50, and you're a guitarist at 70, the guitar still sounds the same. But as a singer, you're even when speaking, if I listen to a tape of me talking when I'm in my 20s versus a tape of me talking later in life, your voice changes. So even in these clips, you sound great, and the guys sound great. How do you manage to hit some of those notes that, when the time came, we've all been to shows where all of a sudden the artist just goes like this with the microphone because he's like, I'm not even trying that.
You sing it.
Yeah, you sing it.
Yeah.
So how do you keep your voice? Do you practice it every day, or do you take breaks and then kind of gear up when it's time to go back out again?
Actually, I take breaks, to be honest with you. Everybody would probably say like, well, you should stay in vocal tip-top shape. For me, sometimes I just have to stop. Sometimes I just have to stop and rest and not think about it. Being a vocalist it's an emotional roller coaster. I mean, for me, when I sing in the studio, when I'm singing on stage, you have to put yourself in that moment. And I transport my brain back to the studios in Sweden, in Stockholm, when we first cut these records, whether it's Quit Playing Games or I Want It That Way or Backstreet's Back or Larger Than Life. I have these memories in my brain that I take these pictures that go back, and it's kind of that's how that placement gets there. Just like you said, playing an instrument, if you're a guitarist, when you get older, your fingers might not work like they did, when you were 20.
Arthritis might set in.
But I think it's just about, I go back to that passion. We love to do what we do, and who wouldn't want to be on stage with everybody from every country we've been in, whether you speak English or not. They're singing your songs, and they're smiling in their faces. And it's just it's something that's such a joy, and it's like a drug. I mean, it really is like a drug that you can't get enough of. And, you're going to ask the hard question, should I stay in vocal tip-top shape? I probably should. But when you're away from it for a little while, taking a break, I think it's kind of good. My personal view is, it's good to step away. It's good to not listen to music. It's good to get fresh ears. It's good to kind of feel where it fits in the future. I'm a 46-year-old grown man now. I've been a Backstreet Boy for 28 years, and I still hit those high notes, and I try not to think about it. If I think about it, I might get in the way of myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, such a good point.
That's my answer.
It's funny you mentioned it's like a drug, and one of the clips I saw of I think it was the Millennium Tour, where you guys all came out in these big muscle type of suits, these silver muscle suits, and the whole concept is you come out straight faced and you don't move and you don't do anything, but you can see, Brian, you just keep smiling, you're trying not to smile, and you cannot help it because you're looking at all of these people screaming, and you could just see the smile on your face. So you can see what you mean by it being a drug. I totally get it. And Baylee, you're gonna get back there to that moment as well.
You're gonna wear that suit, Baylee.
He can fit in it already, I think.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, though, the only thing I couldn't do is keep a straight face. I'd be like,
Here's what I say. Then if you decide to go and just go back to your school one day, just go in the suit, dude. Just walk through there in that suit, just strut through there, yeah, what's up? How you doing?
This thing is actually dry rotted. It's from 1999.
So moth holes in it. Well, it's been such a pleasure talking to you both. Baylee, I'm excited for the next record. I know you are. You've got a lot ahead of you, and I want to make sure that everyone checks out both of them on social media. Baylee is at Baylee Littrell @rocks_music. Brian is at RocksPicks on Instagram as well. It's funny because if you check either one of your social media, you're both singing with each other the whole time. So do I get to audition before we're done? Am I allowed to do this? Do you have a spot?
Are you auditioning for me or for Baylee? Because I would have to ask my other 4 colleagues.
I'm in casting, and then casting goes for me, so I give it to them afterwards.
Well, I wish you guys nothing but the best. Thank you so very much for joining us. Once again, check out. Hold on one second. I got to jump to it here. I'm a one-man show. Check out right now 770 Country. The single, Some Guys, is out now. The other single, Boxes, which I really dig, is out as well. You can check out that other band with the Backstreet guys as well if you want to. Coming on tour soon. But thank you so much, guys. I really, really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
All right, take care.
Lori, you have to show that tattoo after we go off air.
Yeah, as soon as we're off camera.
Okay, all right. Thank you, guys. Anytime you want us, you got us. Let us know.
I appreciate that. Hold on one second.
Every Friday.
Yeah. What are you doing tomorrow? I've got nothing to do. Hold on one second. We'll be right back.
And Baylee back.
All right. You know what? Let's do this. I'm auditioning. Right. You ready?
Wait, Rob's wanted to audition
all right,
for you
here's what
all
I'm gonna
day,
do.
So
I'm doing it.
Let's do it.
All right. So here's the deal, Brian. You sing the most iconic 4 lines of a pop song that I can think of in the beginning of "I Want It That Way." It really is. So I'm going to do this, and if you think it's relatively good, you can join me on the last of the 4 lines, both of you. If you think it's bad, you can hold your nose and give me a thumbs down. I think that's a fair assessment. You ready? And like you said, don't think about it, just do it. So I'm going to do it. You ready? I'm going to close my eyes because I'm looking at you doing it. It's freaking me out already. All right, here we go. You are my fire, the one desire, believe when I say I want it that way. Already sang. I did it. Now here's the dance. I got the dance.
Rob's like crossing off his bucket list.
That's it. Guys, thank you so very much. Thank you for listening to the whole I Am Rob Sprans.
I'm Laura Levine.